they meet again. That's a big smile from President Trump with New York's Democratic Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani at the White House today. The mayor brought props. On the right, the president is holding a copy of a 1975 New York Daily News front page showing then President Gerald Ford and the headline, "Ford to City Drop Dead." On the left, a mock-up of that same front page, but with the current president's photo and the words, "Trump to City, let's build." It's part of the mayor's pitch for a big federally funded housing effort that he's seeking. Back in November, the pair had another remarkably friendly Oval Office meeting. The president is suggesting the two actually had a lot in common, even though he's often falsely referred to him as a communist. On Tuesday night, the president tossed out that word again when he mentioned Mamdani during his State of the Union speech.
And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy.
This is the strangest pairing. David, we've all seen the Dear Leader cabinet meetings where people go around the table and basically, praise the president. He usually sits there stone-faced. He even possibly fell asleep during, while Marco Rubio was speaking. Now you see this smile on his face every time he talks about Mamdani. Is there any other politician who has figured out President Trump's love language?
Not that I've seen, not just a politician, even from his own party here, Anderson, but politicians around the world are trying to figure out how to manage Donald Trump and navigate that relationship, which can be really tricky at times. And here is the 34-year-old Democratic Socialist mayor who is new to this national political scene, who seems to have figured something out here. I mean, they're just like two boys from Queens, that are able to bond. And of course, today, coming with the props, as you noted, definitely understanding the flattery thing that works with Donald Trump, but also just seemingly to know how to balance the relationship that works for both of them.
Mayor de Blasio, I mean, I got to say, when I saw that, Gerald Ford, that classic headline, Ford to City Drop Dead, it is kind of brilliant to bring this other newspaper with a positive thing that would praise the president for building the city that, he's spent most of his life in.
It's absolutely brilliant, Anderson. What I love about this, there's a certain happy warrior reality about the way Mamdani does things. I mean, there's this beautiful audacity to go there with these mocked up headlines, no sense that that's going to seem hokey or anything, because it's exactly the language that Trump speaks, to have props and to suggest something grand that Trump will be the author of. It's just a great move. And what's fascinating about these two guys is, of course, their similarities. They both ran as populists. They both kind of don't have anything to lose when they take some of these risks. No one's going to doubt Mamdani's ideological differences with Trump or vice versa. But what I think we're seeing here is Mamdani is just playing this situation like a fiddle. He understands what gets to Trump, and he's doing it with an audacity that actually is what Trump respects.
Brad, how do you see it? I mean, it is, I don't know if, the mayor's going to get anything out of this, but do you think he will? How do you see what Trump is doing here?
Well, the other thing Mamdani and Trump have in common is they both conquered their political party over the objections of party leaders. And I think Trump probably respects that. But concrete and scaffolding are certainly Donald Trump's love language. And Mamdani has decided to do that instead of talking about seizing the means of production, which he previously has talked about, which is the source of his communist jibe.
Yeah, seizing the means of production would probably not be a good conversation starter.
Yeah.
David, is there a political risk, you think, from Mamdani here?
I don't, because of what Mayor de Blasio was saying. I don't think anyone is going to think all of a sudden like Mamdani's going MAGA or something like that, where he'll offend his base. I do think there's a little bit of political management that Trump may need to do with his own party, because Anderson, Republicans, when Mamdani was running and when he won in New York City in his very substantial victory in November, Republicans from the RNC down were like, this is it. This is the poster child of the Democratic Party. This is what we're running against. And yet it's hard to do that when the person who is in charge of your party is constantly praising him as a good guy, putting his arm around him, bringing him into the Oval Office. That is a little bit of complicated messaging, I think, for Republicans.
Mayor de Blasio, I wanted to ask you about what happened at Columbia. A student at Columbia from Azerbaijan was arrested by ICE agents in her dorm. It was alleged the agents gained entry under false pretenses. DHS, I should point out, denies that. The student posted this on social media while in custody, which reads, "DHS illegally arrested me, please help." This afternoon, Mayor Mamdani posted this, which says that he brought up his concerns about the student with the president, and that he, quote, has just informed me that she will be released imminently, and apparently she has now been released. I'm wondering what your reaction to how this all played out.
A couple of quick things. First of all, what an extraordinary day for Mamdani that he starts the day talking about his theme, affordability, a plan, that could mean like 30,000 or more New Yorkers get affordable housing. And then later in the day, he helps free a student who's inappropriately arrested by ICE. Another key Mamdani theme, taking on ICE and standing up for immigrants. Very, very powerful. I think what's interesting here is, did the president play a role? I wouldn't be surprised at all, because I think the president understands he has painted himself in a corner. I'm not sure he understands the moral piece of it, but he certainly understands the political piece of it. What ICE has been doing has lost the faith of the American people. And when you go into a dorm and you have to, these agents apparently said they were looking for a missing person, so they lied to get in. They arrest a student who's clearly not a threat. This is exactly the kind of thing that is driving everyday Americans crazy. It looks reckless. It looks like taking away people's liberties. I think Trump was quick to say, let's get out of this right now.
Brad, were you surprised by this?
No, I'm not.
She's been released?
I'm not. I'm not as surprised because, I think the president is trying to pivot to make clear that they are trying to take serious criminals and people who are felons because they've crossed the border twice and not be as focused on collaterals. I hope that's what they're doing. I think it would be a smart move, and I think it would help rebuild the advantage Republicans rightly should have on immigration.
David, how about you?
I think what Brad is saying makes sense. He has definitely talked about a pivot. We've seen some change, and yet he doesn't want to completely lose, and you saw this in the State of the Union address, Anderson, all that immigration rhetoric that does enthuse his base, that is part of his political identity. So keeping it focused on getting rid of the worst, which is actually what he initially campaigned on, and then it sort of got away from him in execution. Getting back to that may actually get him back to having a better standing on one of his most prominent and identifiable issues.
Enter in Zoran Mamdani, who's using this moment to quietly, strategically, he must believe, this makes sense, clearly, to get close to Trump. Okay, he went, he had another meeting. He brought props to make his case on housing, according to sources. Trump is smiling, and he's holding up the front page of the Daily News in 1975 with Gerald Ford's face and the headline, "Ford to City Drop Dead," and Mamdani's got a mock-up, "Trump to City, Let's Build."
That he made. It's important. Zoran Mamdani made that to bring it to Trump.
You mean he actually glued it?
No, I mean, Trump didn't make this.
Okay. I'm like, wait, is this okay?
For Trump, right? I think that it's just important to let people know that.
Right.
Carry on.
Mamdani, right. So Jamal, he wanted to. He. This is the language that Trump speaks. He should have done the New York Post, not the Daily News, but okay. But he's speaking the language.
Yeah, you scratch the puppy's belly, and then you show up. And he's figured out how to pick the lock in the Donald Trump White House, which is you're nice to Trump, you ask for what you want, Trump likes star power, whatever it is that goes on between them, he's figured out how to do it. And I think New York being Trump's home city, there's something about that maybe softens Trump up to Mamdani's approach.
Does Mamdani pay any price for that from his social democrat, as he calls it, base?
The price he might pay is just from New Yorkers who are looking out their windows at 8 feet of snow that has still not been cleared from the sidewalk. I'm not saying these are unimportant things. He wants things to be built in New York City. He wanted that Columbia student freed. These are important things. But I think if there's any price, watching Zoran Mamdani march down to Washington with props to very easily pick Donald Trump's lock, right? It's not a hard combination to figure out. Yeah. He does it. I just think there might be a little anxiety in New York about can we just fix what's going on in my front yard, my backyard, my street, my sidewalk?
This might be a ramp up. That Gateway project, people want that tunnel fixed. People really want real big projects done the federal government's going to pay for.
Well, Mamdani's got to find a lot of money.
This might be the ramp up to get the federal government to get back in the game on some of the items that, the city
But that
needs.
first time he met with Trump in the White House, he knew the conversation opener that Zoran Mamdani wanted to have was building. talk about building, because he knows that's the way to Trump's heart. That's not why Mamdani was there, but he knew that's exactly how to get him in. He did the same thing this time. And look at the photos. Trump's grinning from ear to ear,
Ear to
loving,
ear.
cheesing.